So this video is about Mitsubishi's latest ad where they are advertising their four-wheel drive and SUV range. Now I'm going to run the ad in full so you can take a look at it, and then I'm going to get to the point of why this video exists.
Because they count on you, count on it. Australia's only 10-year warranty with 10 years cap price servicing. Mitsubishi 1010. You can count on it.
Alright, so why am I making this video? Well, here is a screen grab which has absolutely nothing to do with the Mitsubishi ad. It is in fact from a Toyota ad which I've analysed on my website, and there's the link which I'll also put in a description. Now, my mission as a journalist, content creator, whatever we're called these days, is safety through education. I specialise in four-wheel drives, including recovery, towing, and fast cars on racetracks, all three of which are dangerous activities, and my mission is to make them less dangerous by education through safety. And what is immensely frustrating is when that work of myself and others is undone by car makers and advertising agencies creating content which simply undermines that safety message. So here's an example. There's no reason this Hilux needs to be jumping that high in the air. The actual premise of the New Zealand ad is fantastic, really like it, but it is not enhanced in any way by this stupid bit of footage showing the car about to break all manner of components when it lands. If someone was coming the other way, they'd be dead, and it's not even environmentally friendly either. So big fail. And this, similar deal as well. We try to, on training courses, we literally tell people not to do this. We explain why not. We talk about care of land management. So what happens? The advertising agencies go, let's just show some idiot blasting through mud and that will be good. It is literally undoing our work. Please stop doing it if you're from an ad agency or car maker, because I will write to you again, but you probably won't listen, but at least I feel that I've done my part to try and stop this idiocy in advertising. So why is it important? Well, here is a Ford F350 and it is bogged, as you can see. You also may notice the windscreen is in fact cracked. It's a left-hand drive vehicle. The reason it's cracked is because this is a kinetic energy recovery rope, basically a giant piece of elastic, and on the end of that, on the other vehicle, was this bit of metal, a tow hitch. That snapped at this point here and it came flying through the windscreen and it killed the owner and the occupant and the driver of that vehicle. That's why it's important. Now there's a GoFundMe set up, and I'll link that in the description as well, and that's to provide funds for his family who are now lacking a husband and a father. This is why four-wheel drive recovery is inherently unsafe, and we need to make it safer through education and set a good example. And that is why I will continue to write to four-wheel drive companies and car companies, etc., and say what you are showing is undoing the safety work. And that's what happens when you don't get it right. You quite potentially end up dead. Personally, I have been in situations where I'm lucky to be here. I now know better, and I've seen others, I've heard others, and shortly after this was in the US, there was a guy who was recovering a tractor with, I think it was a tractor with a chain, ended up in hospital. Again, didn't know. Here's another example, because there is a fine balance to be had between entertainment and fun and getting the point across quickly and technical detail, because we can't turn everything into a 45-minute technical presentation. I know that. But here's an example where it kind of could be better. And my view is, if you can get your point across and do it the right way, well, do it the right way as opposed to be lazy and do it the wrong way. And if you don't know the difference, employ someone as a consultant, or preferably 2 or 3 of them for mixed opinions, so you do know. So here, Jeremy Clarkson is driving off in his Audi, recovering this Evo over here, and James May is standing dangerously and unnecessarily close to the operation, which is kind of odd because in the previous episode he'd actually been knocked over by a rope of that nature, so not learned his lesson. So that's the sort of stuff I am talking about here, and that's what I'm trying to get through safety education and not having people undo this message. All right, so let's get to the Mitsubishi advert then. Now, it starts off, there's two storylines. First storyline is a woman taking a mop with a tongue to the beach. That's really not that interesting. What I'm more interested in is the four-wheel drive recovery storyline, and this starts with a child with a map over the head, and that's great. This has nothing to do with four-wheel drive safety, but my children, when they were younger, actually did exactly this. Maps do make a good rain shelter because a good topographic one is laminated, so it's waterproof and it's fairly big. I wouldn't naturally suggest buying them actual rain jackets. That is better, but you know, in a pinch that can work. So I kind of smiled and laughed at it. I thought it was a nice little authentic touch. The next clip goes to a tyre, and my initial thought was, what is this tyre full of mud? What is going on here? We're about to see the car climb out of mud. Well, no, the car's actually bogged, although that becomes apparent in a moment. You can see here that the tyre is not actually clogged, so normally that would be if it was completely full of mud. I'd have had the wheel spinning personally, but look, this is not a safety issue, so this is kind of minor pickups here. Now, we're going to leap ahead in the storyline here. So obviously the recovery has gone well because he's got a Mitsubishi, pulled the other car out, etc. Great. Here is the hero of the story. And I want to bring your attention to this small white text at the bottom here, which adds additional information and a disclaimer. Now, if we come back to the original point here, so it's now becoming apparent once we get to this clip that here is a non-Mitsubishi which is bogged. Here is a, albeit suspiciously shiny, Pajero Sport. And at the bottom here, I have added for Mitsubishi, because they didn't do it, the following text. Professional drivers in controlled circumstances only attempt to recover 4x4 vehicles with specialised equipment and training. Something like that would be good, just to say to people, hey, there's a whole lot of complexity here, we can't get into it, just so you know this is dangerous and takes skill and knowledge. I'd really like if that text could be on future adverts. Now, spectator location. This is great because the spectators are not in either car. Excellent. You don't want to be them in either car. Why not? Because just in case 4 kilograms of metal comes hurtling back with enough force to penetrate and shatter the windscreen and then go through someone's head and kill them, better get the people out of the car. And they've done that, and in the right location as well. They're not standing right next to the recovery like James May was. So top marks there. All right, now we come to the hero again, and I like his expression. He doesn't look like this is all a walk in the park, Kazansky. He looks a little bit nervous, right? And that's good. I am a little bit nervous whenever I do any recovery like this, and I've done a lot of four-wheel drive recoveries. I've invented four-wheel drive training courses and taught instructors how to teach on them, etc., etc. And I still would be a little bit on edge. Why? Because we are dealing with lethal force here. We are talking about 3-4 ton vehicles, recovering out of 3-4 ton vehicles at speed. Those are forces which, as we have seen, can and do kill. So I like the fact that he looks a little bit on edge, and seatbelt on, also a good sign. All right, so here we are actually in the recovery, and there's the use of a horn. Now, the reason the horn is used is a couple of things. One, to let people know the recovery is going to happen, but also the stuck vehicle should have its wheels spinning slightly before the other one moves off. And there's a big debate as to whether you should use a horn or whether you should use radio or lights or combination thereof. I'm not going to get into that now, but the fact that they've actually used a horn, I think, is a nice little touch. Again, good safety point there. Now, when this vehicle does move off, I'd argue it is a fraction too fast, particularly because this is really not very bogged at all. I would suspect, in reality, it probably wasn't bogged at all, probably just left in neutral, but I think just a little bit too fast, and they could have sort of shown it, take up the slack and then really sort of power out, go, okay, yeah, great Mitsubishi power. So that's probably a minor criticism there. It's something I'd like to have seen edited. All right, now this is probably the biggest area for improvement, and that is the attachment of the strap to the recovery cart. Can't really see what it is, so I can't see it's wrong, but we also can't see that it's right either. And this is right, so there's a few different ways you can attach them correctly. Here I've used a hitch receiver, a rated shackle, and then there's the strap. That works. What we don't want to see is something like this just hooked over the tow ball. So I'd have liked some form of close-up, or even just a 0.2 of a second, just to show, hey, you know, this is looking good here, something like that. I don't know. This is why you pay creative geniuses the money to come up with this stuff. All right, then we've got here a couple of dampers. Now, dampers on snatch straps, not necessarily a big fan. They can't hurt, but do not think that putting a damper over a snatch strap is some form of magical one-way trip to safety. It certainly isn't. But nevertheless, we've got dampers there, which shows that Mitsubishi is at least thinking about things. And it is, in fact, as far as I can see, a strap as opposed to just a random old bit of rope, like Grand Tour specifically said they were using. They said, oh, it's just a random bit of rope, which they are going to use to do a two-vehicle recovery. That's literally promoting bad and unsafe recovery. All right, then the recovery is over. People yelling and cheering, again, very realistic, that's fine. You can see that the Pajero Sport comes to a nice halt, and then there's a bit of slack there, so I liked that as well. And then we come to a completely unrealistic bit, because here's Hero, there's the guy being pulled out. There's way too much touching going on for middle-aged Australian men, just way too much. That would actually be a sort of arm-length handshake. So, yeah, good day, mate, no worries, thanks. And then you'd quickly withdraw your hand. You certainly wouldn't be going for this double-hander thing like this. This is completely unrealistic. And then off we go. Can't really see it, but he's reaching for a seatbelt, so I like that, just getting that seatbelt reinforcement message, which is great. Now he's looking overjoyed at his partner, which is realistic because he's pretty happy, and his partner's now back in the vehicle, having been outside spectating, so happy about that. This is unrealistic because I think these people are novice four-wheel drivers, and generally if you've been recovering, getting bogged in the vehicle, your partner does not look as happy as that in my fairly considerable experience. This guy's, his happiness look is realistic, not so much. Anyway, I would like to say, well done, Mitsubishi, and thank you for making a real solid effort to create an advert which promotes your brand and whatever you want to say, yet it is also pretty safe and pretty realistic when it comes to four-wheel drive recovery. And I ran that advert by a couple of expert friends of mine, and they couldn't see anything really wrong with it either, so I feel confident in making this video because I couldn't see anything. So thanks again, Mitsubishi and your advertising agency. You are an example which I wish that others would follow. Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments? Well, you know where the comment section is, and appreciate your time.